is now a force recognized in the law. For me, I think it's a good thing. When the army was started, we never used to call publicly for recruitment. It was just the army leadership that says goes out sourcing people. I remember in '87, these people, these LWLs, we went to university in Makerere, and we just sourced people who were willing to join. I remember it was a tug of war to convince somebody from Teso, to convince somebody from Lango, to convince somebody from Acholi, to convince somebody even from Toro here to join the army, because they're saying, first of all, this government will not last. This is their army. So we went deliberately sourcing people to join the army, to join ISO, to join the ESO, and so on and so forth. So today we are at a stage where Ugandans, when you call for army recruitment, you get very overwhelmed. And so the law to create the different branches of the army is a good thing. Uganda is not an exception in having reserve force. The world over, all the countries that I know, have a provision for reserve. Either Uganda you do a training and a stint, maybe 9 months or 1 year, depending. In some countries, there's even a conscription, because not all people who retire from the army become useless. They still have expertise. They may not hold the gun to fight, but in times of when we really need people, you will need drivers, you will need people to manage the stores, you will need all sorts of people. So it is necessary to have that reserve force. And the current commanding general of the reserve force is General Otrema Awan, still a serving officer. And so that expansion is good. Now, about the court martial, I have not seen the details, but there is a complaint from the Semujus that that the government has not complied. In fact, they're saying they have reenacted what was outlawed. I have not read that, but from what I read, now the court martial has been reinforced, actually reconfigured. The composition now has people who are lawyers. Their appointment is in consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. They have also tried to equate the first court to a magistrate court. No. What they have tried to equate with the civilian, they haven't. With the civilian courts.
They have actually created a court martial at the unit level.
Yes.
Then we have the next level will be at the division.
Yes.
Then we get to the general court martial. Then they've also provided the amendments also provide for appeal.
Appeal. So
see, if a second, you see, because the law was done in that manner, the only provision they made is that you can appeal to a parent court. Later, when we are raising this matter, the Court of Appeal can only hear cases that are from High Court. So even that, because of the manner in which they were hurrying.
Anyway, even this law has provisions for amendment. If there is a lacuna or overlap, I'm sure the Attorney General, the Minister of Defense will come back to Parliament. Now, Honorable Semujua is having issue. Your rules of Parliament, rules of procedure, provides instances when rules can be suspended. And that's how the 3 days does not apply when there's an emergency. You want to treat an emergency. Somebody moves a motion to suspend a rule, which says you have to lay matter for 3 days. Fourth line, which I want to conclude with. Honorable Semujus is saying that they moved out in protest of procedure. The Honorable Semujus are known to walk out, even when the procedure hasn't been abrogated or overruled. You have seen them walking out each time the president comes. This is a constitutional command that the president addresses State of the Nation Parliament. The Semujus walk out.
Me, I don't attend. I don't walk out. I don't attend.
They walk out. And so their walkout, this is simply a lame excuse. And Ugandans, I think, are now used to those lame excuses. Each time they face defeat, they will have a reason to walk out or to stage a fight, a fracas.
I thought, Ofono, you're going to be a value addition to Parliament.
I'm going to be a value because I'm now going to face you on the floor.
So you're going now to propose that rules should be suspended.
where you now seem to monopolize wisdom. I want to come there and face it on the floor.
Michael, I'm not so sure where Abdul has disappeared to, but you're the lawyer in the studio.
Yeah.
Whatever OO may say, the president may be on Semuju's side, because President Museveni is particularly pleased with the court-martial, whatever was passed by the court-martial.
The president is saying, without the court-martials, the way the executive thinks, discipline would fall apart in the army. Imagine, because this is the case he's giving. Say, if somebody steals ration is dry food, supplies, food meant for soldiers or uniforms. Supposing somebody steals food in a war situation, because they know Miss Honorable Justice Owiny-Dollo's court probably will be laxed. Now we want fast, instant, but fair justice within the army.
Boys who have been before the court-martial for 4 years steal food.
No. And
they could have connived with the soldiers.
It's good you're maybe when you get to Parliament, you'll even draft a few lines for him. Because for him, it's clear. He says, you judiciary, you work with corruption cases and whatever. Leave these other ones to us. That's his line of thinking, Michael, isn't it?
Yes. Now, you clearly state that the president was pleased with the passing of this particular law. You see, we are in a political period. We are headed to the polls. And whatever you see the opposition doing is basically revolving around politics. Because now they're trying to make their case.
And NRM.
Revolving around.
Even the NRM, by the way, because
even he himself, he has resigned.
It goes for either side.
It does.
Now, the main point of contention with this law, because whatever else that has been passed by Parliament is procedurally okay, because we have been undergoing a process of professionalizing the UPDF, even the position of CDF as the head of the army, and delegating some of the duties the president held before to the CDF, and everything else is perfectly okay. And any sitting government would come up with policies and laws that align with whatever they want to do. Now, the main point of contention in this particular law was, as raised by the opposition, is that they weren't given substantial time to respond or to make contributions towards this particular amendment. Then for the lawyers, it is mainly about the issue to do with the trial of civilians in the courts. Because if you look at the issues vis-a-vis the trial of army officers or the rank and file of the UPDF before the court-martial, I believe no one would contest that, even the members of the opposition. Because the trial of UPDF soldiers,
even that is contested.
For disciplinary...
Even that is contested, because if a soldier has murdered, our view is that he needs to be tried by a competent court. But on matters of discipline, you've seen police, they have their own discipline court.
A tribunal.
Yeah. So our view was encompassing that even soldiers, as the court itself ruled, should be, except on matters of discipline, should be tried by the same courts.
That's perfectly fine, Honorable Semuju. The issue here is issues of discipline. Now, the government, the Attorney General actually, raises issues to do with the trial of army officers and co-conspirators or people who may connive with UPDF officers to be tried under this particular court. Now, the essence of the amendment is to ensure that it is realigned with the recommendations of the Supreme Court. Now, the problem with that particular judgment of the Supreme Court that was delivered in January is that they left an opening for the government to amend the law to enable or to allow civilians and army officers to be tried before the court-martial. And that's where the president and the government actually has been pushing for. Because for them, they're saying, in as much as if you read, I think last evening, there's a statement that was released by the army, for instance. They are talking about issues. Colonel Chris Magezi, he's the spokesperson, he's the director of defense information at the Ministry of Defense. He raises issues to do with subversion, to do with treason, and issues of rebellion. Now, perhaps they have intelligence, which we may not be privy to.
They don't have. They're just a politician.
Of course, as a politician, as a member of the opposition, that's what Semuju is going to raise. But we may not know the real facts.
I have Samson Lowens here, Michael.
Yes.
Paragraph. It is not complying with what that ruling was. If you look at clause 30 of the bill, that says if you are going to take someone to that court, you need to demonstrate a lot that they should be taken to the court.
Yes, actually, there's a bit of ambiguity there, and it is what I think OO was raising, that should there be any issues, because I'm aware that actually the members of the opposition are actually going to court to challenge the law, because we have that avenue. Because
limited circumstances, and only after the state has completely demonstrated to the court by verifiable facts and by objective and serious reasons the need and justification for recourse to the military courts.
Exactly. Now the issue there is
that doesn't seem vague.
Exceptional circumstances. Now, how do you define exceptional circumstances?
Not exception, under limited circumstances.
Yes, there should be limited circumstances within which a civilian should be tried before the court-martial. So how are you going to define that? Because what the opposition and perhaps the legal fraternity is saying is that is subject to abuse.
But Oscar, we are not benefiting from this lawyer who wants to come to parliament.
Yes.
For you, what are you saying? You are Ugandan.
I'm a Ugandan.
Yes, but you are hiding the opposition, the legal fraternity. For you, what are you saying?
No.
Because when you come to parliament, you should be a value addition, whether you are NRM or not.
When I'm talking about the legal fraternity, as a lawyer, of course, I'm talking about the position we hold. And the position is, for as long as you have not defined...
Jacob is smiling, Michael. You know these are things NRM is going to give you a challenge with.
Yes, I get that.
You stop talking law and start talking NRM things.
You are para.
Yes, I get that. Now the issue is simply one. Should civilians be subject to military law?
Not benefit from your legal knowledge.
Should they be subject to martial law?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, under the law, civilians should be having their own civil court system, right? However, there are exceptional circumstances where you may find a civilian, especially in issues, for instance, if it's issues of treason, or murder can be under the civil courts, But now issues of maybe, let me say, treason, where there's an attempted coup or something like that. So should such a person go or be tried under a civil system, or should he be subject to
martial law? Have they been tried in civil system before?
Yes, it's been there, because we have people like Jamil Mukulu who are going undergoing
others previously.
Yes, and there are so many of them. But then the argument of the government is that such people should undergo martial law. And you see, that is the policy of the government as pushed by the president. And you see, the tyranny of numbers they have used in parliament to pass this particular law is what is disturbing the opposition, the likes of the Honorable Semuju. So for us, you see, even myself, if I breach the law, and all of us are candidates for that particular law, even myself, I could find myself before the court-martial for as long as I'm not in line or have breached the laws of the land. Yeah, so for as long as there's still...
Let's give you breathing space.
For as long as there's still that gap, then we can always, and I'm sure that going forward, this particular law will be amended going forward. But as is now, we have to go with what they have passed. Yeah, because that is the government position, and that's the policy they have pushed.
Because you're the lawyer here. Oh, was it to you completely?
Sure.
You finish that thing. So Jacob here.
Oscar, I was listening to the lawyer.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I should speak at all on this matter because the lawyer was giving law but no position. And I can really sympathize with many civilians.
You give Muhammad Ali language, diving and ducking.
And really, I sympathize with us civilians. We are very scared of taking direct action. I want to be very clear, Oscar. There is international consensus on the situation of civilians in court-martials. In General Comment 29, the United Nations Human Rights Committee expresses explicitly the circumstances of derogation of the situation. In other words, they're saying it's a context issue. If there is a state of emergency, if there are exigencies, in other words, if there are circumstances that warrant the use of military force to address, then civilians participating in causing those situations can be tried. The only position that the Human Rights Committee takes very clearly is to say this should be temporal for that situation. It should not be a standing system. However,
and sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
This is playing out in Israel and Gaza, for example.
Very true. And I was actually coming to that. That there was a standing court-martial system trying civilians in Guantanamo Bay in the United States of America. There was one in Pakistan. Pakistan has a standing, but that is on exceptional circumstances. The general idea of a court-martial existing is internationally agreed upon. The question that Uganda was dealing with, and which I think the Supreme Court helped us sort out, is do you therefore just allow a court-martial to operate without any legal competence or any competence for fair hearing? And for me, this is the more important question. Because if you have agreement on the nature of crime that can take a civilian there, then the next question is when he goes there, does he or she acquire a fair trial? And this is for me what I expected this bill to deal with, this law to deal with, and to the better practice of law. I think that what has been established in the bill deals a great deal better than what we had before. One, I am now learning that the appellate system that was introduced there may not work. That's what Semuju is saying. Because the Court of Appeal...
Even Michael has agreed.
And even the president agreed that he did not know that in the previous situation, you would not appeal a court-martial decision. And he said this was wrong. So now that we have identified that actually the way it is situated, it would still not be appeal if it is not...
It seems as if you can appeal, but
you will not be able. Yeah. That's a technicality that is not in the spirit of the law. So it would call for amendment. And if we can have the speed at which we have passed it to also amend it to allow for that, I think the NRM will execute that because that's the spirit. The second issue which I was very concerned about was this issue of the dress code. You see, Oscar, for us as young people, we have interest in many kinds of things. Green is a very majestic color in some ways. You want to look green. There is this Go Green movement. Let's go green as a country. People have green T-shirts, green shoes. So we said, but if everything green is going, that would be
there's some mountain climbing boots that are green as well.
So nice. The fact that Honorable Mohamed Nsereko's addition of no, there must be a differentiation between colorization and insignia passed shows that there was logic on debate. And this is where I really felt we would have benefited, for example, from the knowledge of the Honorable Semujunga had he not walked out. Because We are now learning where it doesn't matter. None of us here is a legislator. That actually they could even have improved the law better to say amend this part, the appeal will not be possible. So if there is international consensus on circumstances, but there's also international practice on existence, the problem cannot be the existence of the court martial. The problem should be the competence, which for me is the subject I'm interested in. What competence have we put in there to comply with the Supreme Court ruling? If that competence is such that we can have trials that are free and fair, then it is just as good as being in a court with prosecution in a civilian court. Why is that? Because eventually, even in the civilian court, even when convicted,
someone is telling me here, it is not called a civilian court; it's regular court.
Okay, you may call it a regular
because
court.
Even an armed person can
Let's
go
just say
to that
the
court.
judicial. Yes. So, and you'll excuse me. A civil court.
Civil court. Okay.
So civil and civilian seems more, but let's leave it to the regular. You'll forgive me, excuse me for this. I am an engineer.
Okay. Yeah.
So some of the legal jargons I may not.
Engineer Yeru, first stop there for a minute.
Yes.
We go for a break and then I'll let you continue.
Thank you.
Your name is system.
Beyond just running,
Police,
your agribusiness is the means to grow.
hand over to DPP.
Introducing the Support to Agriculture Revitalization and Transformation START Facility, an initiative of the United Nations Capital Development Fund, or UNCDF, that offers funding options between 40 million and 900 million Ugandan shillings, providing you with the capital to help boost your operations in value addition, agro-processing, and sustainable practices. With its investment mandate, UNCDF helps low-income countries grow their economies by providing access to finance where it is needed most. Start now. Visit www.start.go.ug today to apply for funding under the START facility.
The START facility is a financing facility that enables registered companies, cooperatives, associations, sole traders, or partnerships in the agribusiness sector to get easy access to financing.
I interrupted you, Jacob. You were presenting comments on the trying civilians in the courts martial from your engineering perspective.
That's a low blow, but as I bring it to a close, I think that as a general principle, civilians should not be tried in military courts, and for the simple reason that they are civil courts. However, as a general accepted principle international, again, quoting from what I have already quoted, General Rule 29, there are circumstances that would warrant it. And I just want to draw the picture for people. The United States is now struggling with gun violence. And why they are struggling with it is because the gun is, it can be owned by anyone from a shop. You just go buy it. In Uganda here, people do not know generally how you acquire a gun. But very many people can actually acquire guns and have licenses for those guns. And whenever you are attending a presidential function, you'll be asked whether you have a weapon, and you'd have to leave it at the gate. Just the same for Parliament. Such a one could go on rampage and decide that since I am losing this election, let me cock and shoot everyone down here. Now, when you say, no, what you have done is an act of murder, let's take you to a civil court, yet the intention of that person is perhaps to shoot down the security of parliament and go in, it would not be right to say because you're a civilian, you go to the civil court. You are undertaking military action.
Why would it?
I'm just you're undertaking military action with intent perhaps to overthrow the state. In that event, you are committing an act of war on the state. It would not be unfair to say, why don't we subject you to martial law itself, since you're undertaking martial or military activity? And I think that the challenge with the law would be the spirit of the person implementing. And unfortunately, I am not a qualified reader of spirits.
But in your opinion,
yes,
a court would not manage such a case? Let him just finish off.
Yes, in my opinion, even though a court would manage such a circumstance, what I am saying is that a state cannot manage military activity in lackluster behavior. It has to be quick and decisive to manage the reaction toward the state. For example, if someone attempts a coup and uses civilians in that attempted coup as backup force, should we say because of the civilians put them this way and then these ones go into the
military people? Maybe you are speaking from a point of no knowledge. The military, first of all, today is still committing people to the same prisons. We are with them. When I was in New Zealand, they were the ones.
No, this is not about prisons.
Why don't they operate?
This is not about where you go.
Just quickly.
This is about
1 second.
how
Jacob,
we determine.
Jacob, let me ask Michael
sentence
here.
by UPDF is different from the sentence
So just
by
1 second.
High Court.
I want to ask
Here they
Michael
will...
a question and come back to Fonopono.
Yes.
Can court cases be expedited? Like such, the way they expedited the bill, can a court case say this, we need to get this done? I've had this discussion with Moses Biarahaga, who wants the American system. Once they bring you to court, 6 days, case closed. Can a court case in Uganda be expedited?
Yes, court cases can be expedited. The problem we have is that we have a dysfunctional judiciary. We have cases of case backlog. I have a case, for instance, that's been in court for the last 7 years. But to this date, it has not been heard. So when they raise issues to do with, especially the trial of maybe like army officers, if for instance an army officer went and shot people in a village, we've seen people, for instance, in Karamoja, army officers being tried before that unit court-martial. So the president, actually, his argument has been that if an army officer commits, for instance, murder, shoots people in a bar or whatever, then they try them immediately instead of taking them to the courts. You've seen Jamil Mukulu. How many years has he been in our civil court system? To this day, he has been there for so many years.
So how can that be cured? By creating a court martial or appointing more judges?
Creating the court martial actually helps expedite the process.
That's
what they're saying.
Boys, supporters of Kyagulanyi were arrested 4.5 years ago. They are before court martial.
Yes, so it boils down to our court system. So it has to be the court martial or the civil court system, where we have to basically change whatever we are doing. Yeah, because there's a problem in our mainstream judiciary. There's a problem now, like the Honorable Semuju is saying, we have a problem in the court martial system. Then these issues need to be addressed.
Go to the microphone.
Yeah, I think we are discussing this matter superficially without going to the origin of the state, origin of the law. Just like we are now saying.
Muchaka.
Yes.
You tried to give it, so
that's good for your health. I mean, ideological health. It's like in Uganda here, we think that people who speak English are the ones who are educated, are the ones who are knowledgeable, and yet it's not. So it goes back to what kind of state, what kind of country, what kind of society we are running. We say lawyers are knowledgeable, but we have heard from the lawyer. They say they are the ones interested in pursuit of justice. But so how come that people who are legally trained and appointed, well paid today, can delay cases for up to 15 years? How come? So I think we need to go back and say, what does the law intend to cure?
Nothing.
Law intends to cure
Politics.
problems of society, whether it is political, whether it is economic. And therefore, for me, at the stage we are, we need to find alternative means and system to address grievances in society. And at this time, I think we need court martial to try certain offenses, provided there are guarantees that there will be fairness and there will be justice. For me, and if you look at the UPDF court martial, by and large, it tries soldiers mainly. Civilians come as a, by the way, the ones who choose to take themselves into the realm of military actions. I have not seen, for example, the military court trying people who have committed AFRE. AFRE is fighting in public. I have not seen. So, but if you bring yourself into military action, surely, where we are, to take the case of Somalia, supposing we don't have a court martial, and okay, wherever our soldiers are engaged in foreign countries, how would we try them in the civil courts in Uganda? And so for me, that should be the issue. Does this guarantee? If it doesn't guarantee, Semujis should go back to Parliament and cause amendment rather than running away from their duty of legislation. But each time they run away when they face defeat, instead of bringing alternatives, how to strengthen the law, they run away. And then they come to the radio. Whoa.
Ask Katundu who we mean. What success did he register?
Well, because it was in the extraordinary, you having fled.
You see, Oscar, the NRM approach this matter as an academic question. In Somalia, I don't know if they are out. We had the two colonels who were charged for abandoning when Al-Shabaab attacked. They processed them, they are in Luzira. We had another one. We have another one who was, but they were brought back here. They didn't charge them in Somalia. So for the court doesn't have to be in Somalia. People can always be brought back. It's not that it's the absence. We had another one who was charged for selling guns to Al-Shabaab. He was also brought back to Uganda and charged and sent to Luzira. So let's not use geography, that they are far away, therefore there are no courts. Even those who have been injured, they are taken to Nairobi and elsewhere. So the point, because you see, Museveni pursues the military court for a different reason. His handlers come on radio and give a different reason. At the beginning of this parliament, Museveni wanted NRM MPs to remove bail. He had meetings, they refused. He said, okay, I'll find a solution. What is the solution? Military court. That's why they took their message. When the military court was...
I know you couldn't end this without bringing message as a way of sympathy.
Because he has been in military court. This is the second time. I cannot bring you because you have never been before a military court.
Both.
But Oscar, except if
now
you
just reminding.
Yeah, because it is Museveni.
End the debate without
It is Museveni who summoned the NRM MPs and told them you go and pass the law. Okay, Kagame. They went to Rwanda and Rwanda told them to pass it. But the one who told them was in Entebbe. Even the MPs who were in Munyonyo.
The leader of NRM is also the leader of
Even the MPs who were in Munyonyo abandoned the committee worker to run to Entebbe.
The only issue can be, if you say NRM MPs when they go to the president, lose the reason. Maybe you can.
So there you go when they have it.
Yes.
That they lose it from there.
I doubt. If they didn't have a reason, you would have.
So you see, Oscar, that's the reason Museveni pursues this court. That if he has sent you there and he wants you to be in the prison for a full year, you will be there. Look at these boys of Noob. Some of them are from my constituency. Arrested November 2020. 5 years later, even the court martial that is supposed to be an alternative judicial system hasn't tried them. Not even one witness has been presented. And they are still there. I think now they are going to continue. Because the idea is that you use a military court as a political platform. If you don't like it, because look at the case of Besigye, very interesting case. He is brought because in the law they have said if they have put aiding and abetting if you are aiding a military man. And I think they force for BSG, they pick Captain Ora, who was in Ruzira for a different offense, and add him on BSG to make it look like BSG was aiding a military man. Samuel Ngora, former minister and former NRM vice chairman, Northern Uganda.
No, Samuel Ngora was never. It is Samuel Ngora, yes, former chairman.
So you mean everything from me you're going to deny, even when it is true? Because that's how you have tuned. That's how you have tuned yourself. Samuel Ngora, former minister, former NRM vice chairman, Northern Uganda. We have been meeting in the court martial. He has a relative there who was arrested together with Ora. They charged them for trafficking something. I don't remember the offense. This woman is in Ruzira. When we were arrested protesting, going to the Kenyan embassy, the Ingrids were taken to Ruzira. So the woman was there crying. She said, but my co-accused now has been donated to USG. I don't know if I will ever go to court.
Yeah, but
so
was she proven that her co-accused could have committed another
I am telling you the circumstances. The interpretation is yours. What Museveni will be doing is to pick a corporal, and he says, Semuju, you are aiding a corporal, because the intention is not to try you. The intention is to keep you in jail. And
how come you have been kept there?
Even and I mean, when they were killing people for you survive, they didn't kill everybody. So you mean Museveni has prisons for all Ugandans? Ruzira itself, the capacity is 10,000. It has
yes. I want to change subject now. So,
yeah. So let's look at the intention of the main sponsor of the bill and why he wants it, and then a number.
So your argument is create an impression that there's bail when there's actually no bail.
Actually, that's what will happen, because even when bail is granted by the
civil court,
normal court, in the case of Alan, I was in Masaka, Alan and Segirinya. The High Court judge said these are MPs, important people, they will come and report. Then they brought another judge and he said these are important people who will interfere with the investigation. So when Museveni was done, nothing changed. They just told them after 2 years and 6 months, now you can go. And they went. Because Museveni doesn't want to use courts for justice. He wants to use court system and the judiciary for punishing people. And to him, you are guilty until you have proven yourself innocent. So that's why he has been.
We don't use the French system.
So
let your BSG acquit himself by giving evidence that wasn't involved.
But the government has no evidence. For 6 months, in Nakawa, they said they have filed an application to use USG's phone to look for evidence.
You passed that law that we can't.
Museveni said that you people who are crying for USG, why don't you cry for speedy trial? For 6 months, he hasn't been tried.
You passed that law that if we want to use information in your system, we should apply to court to obtain that information.
You are being simple. You have arrested someone, you have no evidence. Why don't you first get the evidence?
Yes, you collect the evidence and you arrest.
No.
So you arrest and then begin looking for evidence.
No. That evidence is available, but in order to present it in court, we need to extract formally with the court permission. Why don't you allow? Why doesn't person say, okay, here's my phone, get the information? Why do you think you people are?
You mean I surrender my phone to Museveni? Even mine, I will hide it.
Why do you? But you see, that's why there's intelligence. What we gather intelligence, we can use it without necessarily taking it to court, but we shall achieve the end result that we would have neutralized you.
Thank you.
Yes,
please.
I hope you are not supporting arrest before finding evidence. But diplomatic community complaining. Your friend Tim Kalijira is posting on X, formerly Twitter, saying that General Sali is the deputy head of state, and he got the point.
Is he not a co-president?
He got the point from the diplomatic community complaining. Though you are, my friend Andrew Mwenda is shouting at the top of his voice, saying, "Why are these people complaining?"
No, you see, which diplomatic community? The European, the European ones. Those are grandchildren of colonialists. They still think that Africans don't have heads to lead themselves. That's why you see they're all over the place.
No, in this particular incident, they were complaining about CDF threats.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Even Opono has complained, Opono himself.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In my previous capacity, I had issues with the diplomatic community because they still think we Africans don't have our own heads. And unfortunately, there are many Ugandans in leadership who think that those people are the only ones who are intelligent. Do we need diplomatic community to complain for us? We Ugandans should complain if our CDF is doing things that are outside the law, outside the rules. We should complain about him ourselves. Why do you wait for some German ambassador who's here for 3 years?
So we are not
Now
complaining.
after he has gone, what will you do? If our leaders are doing wrong things, we should complain by ourselves. I don't support that we should wait for the diplomatic community to go to Jerusalem to whoever to complain about the CDF or anybody else. We should complain about him ourselves if we think he's doing the wrong things.
Or if you went to General Sale, would you get the same media coverage and the same response from General Sale?
If I
will tell you, if you went to complain about the CDF to General Sale, would you get the same response?
Why,
or he would tell you, go and sleep?
Why do I go to General Sale to complain about the CDF? I wouldn't go because I have another platform.
Chairman, can you confirm if you can hear me?
I should.
Yes, loud and clear. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear Imperialist speaking on his phone.
Yes.
Jacob has all sorts of
So
yes. Go on.
I'm saying for them they can, but they are non-made lands. I don't want them to complain on our behalf. Let us do that complaint. Let us raise those issues ourselves. So
but
I don't support
them. No, you have not helped to follow upon.
I don't support
part
them.
of the reason they were complaining is that the CDF was also threatening them. So when they get
that was their bigger complaint.
Yeah.
No, and that shows you that they are unserious.
That they are afraid.
Yeah, no, they are unserious. Diplomats have the channel of the protocol department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's where they should write their complaints to. Not Jerusalem.
You say those things as you look at me with a straight
face.
Yes,
I am saying
that you want to complain about CDF in Uganda and you go to Foreign Affairs protocol desk.
Yes.
How would that be a complaint?
Yes. According to international standards, rules, that's where they should address their complaints to, not Jerusalem. Otherwise, they seem to think.
I remember General Sale telling Semuju here, do you know who General Sale is? When Semuju was saying you are just General Sale.
No, they were doing their back and forth, media, but for a diplomat, I am saying for a diplomat, the rules, they should address their concerns to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Minister of Foreign Affairs will challenge if they evaluate and think that the CDF is a problem to the diplomat, to the head of state, who happens also to be the commander-in-chief of the CDF.
His father.
Let me switch off.
Commander-in-chief.
Let me switch off Semuju. You speak when I've invited him to speak. Jacob Beyeru. Hold on.
You may not agree with that I'm saying, but
I'm saying nothing. I have not known.
Honorable Semuju, you both gentlemen, your microphones out. Just lift it. It's a question to you. You know.
As a bit surprised,
Jacob, you know, I because I look younger than all, but we're in the same age bracket.
Yes.
So it could be elderly. So you heard from us elderly sending you to a desk in Foreign Affairs to come.
No.
Even you wouldn't do that.
I was a bit surprised that the ambassadors chose to go to General Sale. Yet in March of this year, the ambassador, the head of the delegation, met with General Muhoozi, and they had a very cordial meeting. The army was happy to report on it. We saw a lot of, in fact, General Muhoozi himself reported on it on his X handle. I think that for me, if the ambassadors had a problem with General Muhoozi, seeing as they have got audience with him before, I don't know the ambassadors to be people who mince their words or are scared to meet anyone in Uganda. I think they should have taken the bull by the horn and gone to General Muhoozi to say, look, we are tired of you threatening us and say it to his face, because he would grant them the audience in his official capacity as CDF. I don't think he would deny it. But be that as it may, let's not also dismiss the elder here. The official channels also exist. Government to government communications also exist. How they chose to take the issue to General Sale, I don't know. But we also can't pretend like we don't know General Sale's influence in Uganda. He is the one that oversaw the transition of the army command to General Muhoozi. But historically, he is also one of the very revered members of the NRA, who, in fact, are the people that formed what we now know as the force we have profession.
And his name has been left in
and General
amendment.
General Saleh is very respected across the board because of his conduct. No, I'm sure Semuju also respects him, except for perhaps a few business deals gone wrong. Semuju maybe did not benefit from some, and he was not happy about it. But I just want to say that in military terms and military hierarchy in Uganda, General Saleh is highly respected, and I think it would be good to continue having guidance from someone of that high rank, so that we don't always have things mastered by only the president. And in the army, who attains the rank first remains senior. It is not that because we are at the same rank, I am now equal. No. If you attained it before me, you remain senior, and I salute you. Except if you are in official command structure, that is when the command structure also determines who salutes you. So I really want to just say the European Union has a choice to go and meet General Muhoozi. I don't think they can be locked outside Dumbuya or SFC or wherever General Muhoozi sits, and they'll have a cordial conversation. Let them talk about it rather than going to General Sale all the way to Guru. In fact, someone was asking, the ambassador has decided to travel to Guru to report a matter of that nature, or but I'm sure there were also other issues of general concern. Yeah, so I would encourage them, after bringing it to the knowledge of General Sale, let them also bring it to the knowledge of General Muhoozi, and they have a conversation.
I wonder. George Baruga Harris says, even when you want to be upset with Opo, you have got to love him. He calls them grandchildren of colonialists. So he hopes you get to Parliament soon. Michael.
Oh, yes. Now, on the issue of diplomacy, it's a diplomatic spot, in my opinion. One is that I watched that clip, by the way. Seeing the exchange between Andrew Mwenda and the diplomats and Paul Cole and everything, I am disappointed because one, of the position the CDF holds, but then two, for General Saleh, maybe perhaps before I go to that, I should mention that this was, I think, a leaked video. And if you look at the meeting, I think it was a casual kind of meeting. And someone recorded this and leaked it. Because the EU, the ambassadors, that team of the ambassadors from the EU, basically had gone on a different mission to northern Uganda. And perhaps casually, like many of the leaders have done, they decided to have audience with General Saleh. But then why I feel sorry for General Saleh is he struggled to explain and defend.
Sorry for him?
Yes, I feel sorry for him because that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And let's be clear on this, that the tweets General Muhoozi posts, some of them, I think, cross the line. We are his supporters. I'm his supporter. But then we need, no, not for crossing the line.
You don't need to respond.
I mean, his
microphone is off.
General Muhoozi is not perfect, but for the position he holds, I think he should reflect on some of the things he posts, because some of them clearly are just absurd. Because for me, I wouldn't support torture of citizens, irrespective of what they have done. We have court systems where these citizens can be arrested, not illegally arresting people, subjecting them to issues of torture. Whether, we are in a digital age. So social media is a big tool for politics. And General Muhoozi, from his perspective, we know he's the chairman of PLU. We know he's angling for the presidency. And I can state without fear of contradiction that Muhoozi is going to be president of this country. Because everything, like we're seeing, the progression is that he's preparing himself for the presidency. And he's going to be president unless something happens and it stops him. Now, the buck stops with the president. Our appeal is to the CDF, to General Muhoozi, and to the president, because the buck stops with him. If you remember, I think the 48th birthday of General Muhoozi, I remember clearly President Kagame cautioning him on the kind of posts he makes. Perhaps he didn't take heed, perhaps the president didn't take heed, but he was very clear on that, because some of those tweets really, they cause problems like the diplomats were raising, because you talk about arresting and deporting diplomats, attacking the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission and things like that. Some of those things really cross the line. And the people around General Muhoozi, Andrew Mwenda, Ambassador Katunji, their ministers actually like Balam, who are, I mean, you're a minister. He's the minister for the youth, but in as much as he holds a responsibility, and as citizens and as members of the party, actually, for the Yerus, we hold them to account for some of their actions, because you can't be. I mean, what do you do when you meet General Muhoozi, for instance, Lilian Abels, all those ministers? When you meet him, why don't you guide him? Because Muhoozi, like I've said, is not perfect. He needs guidance. He's a leader who is growing, and like I've said, it doesn't matter, because I mean we've seen Biden becoming president at 70.
Let's stop for a break, and then after the break I'll get you to conclude on that.
All right.
The Capital Gang on 91.
The team around his closest friends, by the way, Honorable Balam Barugahara, Lilian Aber, and that whole team.
There's a saying, people are saying, who is your Balam? Everyone,
oh yeah.
Everyone needs a Balam.
Yes, you can. You see, you can defend and fight for someone without crossing the line. As a good friend, we need to to give guidance to some of our leaders. Every leader needs guidance. So there's no leader who is perfect. Even Museveni, in as much as he's been in power for a long time, he's not a perfect man. There are things where he falls short, and that's why he has advisors. So the buck stops with the president. We are appealing to the president. In as much as
let's go to Honorable Semuju. Thank you.
All right.
Semuju is going to swear.
No, and finally the lawyer has spoken as a citizen. Because you see, these things are going to affect everybody. I remember when Kayihura was torturing people in Narufenya. The day he tortured that NRM chairman from Bunyoro. Yeah. Now people knew that nobody was safe. You see, the Uganda people will take it upon the way it is, not the way it ought. Because we are under family rule. Under family rule, nobody will go to. In fact, if you ask children on the street if they even know the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they will struggle. Because they know this country is run by Museveni, his brother, and his other family members. If you want something solved, you will go to them. I remember, even before I became a politician, sometime in 2000 something, the Honorable Nusrat Peru was either NRM used something when she was a youth MP. Youth in Mitiana wanted to meet General Sare, and Chiperu wanted to take Chigongo. They said, no, we don't want Chigongo, we want Sare. Because they know with the Sare things will work. So the diplomats are not stupid, that they will go and meet a protocol officer. They know who is in charge, not even of himself. They will go to people, because if you want Mohozi either to speak to him or to stop him, he has said it himself, either it is his father or his uncle. That's the hierarchy. Even when he is appointed or is promoted, it is his uncle Sare. I told you he came dressed like he was going to milk cows to preside over the Muhozi's peeping ceremony and inauguration.
Sometimes you want to make a good point and then you spoil it.
No, that was important.
You could say he was not dressed in uniform.
No, that was important. But Sare has come here. I have told him these things when he was here, the way he dresses. So it is his uncle who must preside over. So the whole government has been over, because ordinarily someone should walk to the Prime Minister. I remember when Tumukunde refused to vacate office when he had been removed. That time you had a semblance of government. The president sent there Professor Nsibambi and Tinyefuza. Tinyefuza, of course, said, "Ruga on Katere." He wanted to beat him. But Nsibambi said, no, we can handle it differently. Because at least you had the Prime Minister who was fairly respected, and the president would allow him to go and do some government work. But just imagine walking into Nabanja that you have come to report that you have come to. No, I'm not the only one. That's why the diplomats went to Sare, who holds almost no office in the government. In fact, even when you read the Oscar, because the requirement under the law that government departments, as they bring their budgets in Parliament, they will bring a list of human resource. Now Sare is no longer on the list of presidential advisors. They omitted him this year. So he's not even a presidential advisor, at least by law, because we approve them every year. But he's a co-president. That's why the ministers will go, the speakers, because you're faulting the colonialists, the children of colonialists. But the entire government goes to Guru, from Alupo, the vice president, to Nabanja, to Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, to everybody. So if you can't access the president, then you go to the co-president. Now, I don't know whether the son is the prime minister, because he can also. We are effectively under family rule. You can pretend about it of Opondo. You can choose to say nothing by blaming history. That's where you are. Even when you yourself come to Parliament. The other day, MP summoned Mohoz, said those crowns will come and arrest you. The chairperson of Human Rights Commission ordered him to release under the Constitution. He said that a woman never sent me these bogus letters. That's how he described the letter from the chairman of Human Rights Commission. So that's where we are. People can pretend the government has disintegrated. There is no government now. So you just look for portions where it takes. Sare, Oscar, even in the budget, They have budget lines now. They have put money for Saleh, 20 billion under Operation Wealth Creation, 60 billion under what? So yeah, that's where we are. We can pretend, but that pretense will help nobody. I remember when you were complaining here the day they arrested your driver by not following the due process. But at least you complained publicly. You came here to Capital Gang and complained. I would rather go to Saleh than Capital Gang.
I can tell the listeners that I actually complained to the police authority at the highest